Sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, there's nothing flashy about the Miami Heat, but they continue to win games in the National Basketball Association. Now, after losing seven in a row, the Heat have won nine out of their last 11, which includes winning their last five. And just like last year, the Heat have been up and down at times this season, but they're still a team that knows how to turn it up a notch or two come May or June. That's what they've been built on. And, the Grizzled Heat have shown that playoff seeding is not that important to them as long as they get invited to the dance. They will find themselves a dance partner. Now, last year we saw Miami emerge from the NBA's play-in tournament to reach the NBA Finals. And in doing so, the Heat eliminated the two top teams in the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. Now, we see it on their jerseys, or at least one of their alternate jerseys for this season, but no doubt about it, the Heat culture is real. And it starts with their team president, Pat Riley. And for all of his fashion and his mystique, Pat Riley built his reputation in the NBA on defense and toughness. First as a player with the Los Angeles Lakers, and then as their head coach during the 1980s when he helped them win four NBA championships. Of course, after that, Riley would coach the Knicks in the mid 90s, get them to the finals before finding his second home, if you will, in the NBA in South Florida. First as the head coach, and of course, team president and general manager. And for all of the glitz and glamour of those Showtime Lakers of the 1980s, Riley emphasized defense and toughness. And that's how they won a lot of those championships, to kind of complement what they were able to do on offense. And of course, Riley, in coming to Miami, he brought that same defense and toughness mindset. And, when he was initially coaching the Heat, when they had Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, we saw the Heat grind out wins, tough minded wins, you name it. And of course, when Dwayne Wade and Shaq, helped the Heat win a championship in 2006. It was kind of the same thing. And even though that Riley still is not coaching his team and is Eric Spoelstra show now, we still see that with this Heat team. And of course, it goes back to one Pat Riley, as this is a core of this organization. Now, you look at the Heat, speaking of their defense, they're third in the NBA in points allowed per game this season. And again, like I said before, this is a team that, yes, they may lack flash, but do not count them out in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, regardless of the sport, defensive play travels. It's like the old saying goes: offense wins games and defense wins championships. And I know that the Heat have not won a championship in more than a decade, but they've been knocking on the door. You go back to 2020, they got to the NBA Finals when they lost to the Lakers, and then of course last year, and they've just, they lost to the Nuggets in the finals, but they continue to be a perennial championship team. They're a team that, what you're saying. Wait, they might not have a lot of depth. Well, they might not have a lot of size, or who's that second star alongside Jimmy Butler, and then in this day and age where we see the star players wanting to team up, two, three, sometimes four guys on a team. You know what? Miami's star is Jimmy Butler, and of course, he fits that Heat culture. He went to Marquette, same school as Dwayne Wade, and he understands that. And Jimmy Butler is a guy who's always played, with an edge on his shoulder. So after his time with the Bulls playing under Tom Thibodeau, I think this is probably the second best, if not the best, opportunity for him in the association. And of course, he is going out there and proving it. You bring in a veteran guy like Kevin Love, and some people question whether or not Kevin Love could still get it done in the NBA. He's showing that he can. Jamie Jaquez Jr., the fine rookie out of UCLA, and of course, this guy, spent multiple years at Westwood playing for the Bruins. Solid college player, and I think it's translating to the pro level, and he's a guy that fits this system. And of course, Bam Adebayo. Now, Bam Bam might be a little undersized, but you know what? He's still a 20 and 10 guy. You've got Tyler Harrow, who you never know when with a guy like him could go off and start filling up the buckets. And for me, I know it was talked about prior to the trade deadline, and I'm going to bring it up again. The Heat getting Terry Rozier from the Charlotte Hornets just prior to the trade deadline. You made that deal. You sent Kyle Lowry there, and of course, since then, Charlotte bought out Lowry. He's now with the Sixers. But nonetheless, Scary Terry is a guy that fits Miami because he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. And I think he's a guy, it might not show up as much during the regular season, but I think Terry Rozier has a type of game that can help Miami make a run possibly in the postseason. He's that type of guy. The bigger the stage, the more he wants a spotlight on him. But nonetheless, you look at this team. The Heat, they've won 5 in a row. Like I said, they won 9 out of their last 11, and now they're up to fifth in the Eastern Conference. And the Eastern Conference is very interesting right now. The Celtics are going to be the top team in the East come the postseason, barring injuries. Okay, they have a workman-like approach and a working margin, if you will, over everybody else. They got a 7.5 game lead coming into play today over the second place Cleveland Cavaliers. What has also helped the Heat, the injuries to the New York Knicks, they've cooled off. And then, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers, sans Joel Embiid, are reeling. We were looking at the Sixers as possibly being the top team in the East, and now they're down to sixth and currently flirting with being in the play-in tournament as they're only a half game up on the Orlando Magic. Milwaukee looks like they're starting to get it figured out under Doc Rivers, and they need to get their sea legs prior to the start of the playoffs. And then, of course, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers there. And then in that play-in tournament, you've got Orlando, Indiana, Chicago, and Atlanta. And I think those are going to be the teams there because Brooklyn really was starting to tail off, and then I think it got worse for them following the firing of head coach Jock Vaughn, and then of course we've seen Toronto make moves as they're starting over as well. So nonetheless, getting back to the Heat, I think the Eastern Conference is ripe for the picking for them. And then again, like I said, this is a team that playoff seeding doesn't matter. We saw it last year, and it was all about their toughness. I said it last year, and I'll say it again. Jimmy Butler basically punked the Milwaukee Bucks in that first round series. He took their lunch money, did the same thing to the New York Knicks in round number two, and then the Heat jumped out to that 3-0 lead before Boston figured it out, and then of course the Heat rallied to win game number 7 in Boston to go to the NBA Finals. But nonetheless, toughness matters. Toughness still counts, and that's why you don't count out this Miami Heat team. It's going to be very interesting to see because, like I said, the Heat have been an up and down team. They're on the road in a finals rematch tomorrow night with the Denver Nuggets. But I'm looking at this Heat team because this is a time of year where they start to play better. But then on top of that, it's after the trade deadline, it's after the All-Star break. The gap between the haves and have-nots in the NBA world is going to start to increase. And I was really interested to see, if Miami could take it up to another level. The reason why is because they've been so up and down throughout the season. But nonetheless, they're playing some good basketball right now. I know that February is still winding down. I know that we have some time between now and then prior to the start of the NBA playoffs. But nonetheless, I think this Heat team is once again going to be very formidable. Jimmy Butler is one of those guys. He's a star, not a superstar, in my opinion, but he's one of those guys that he knows how to will his team to win. This Heat team, they know how to win games without Jimmy Butler, and I think that's in the regular season, and I think that has helped them in the postseason as well. And again, they just find a way. I don't think, as a head coach, Eric Spoelstra gets the credit that he deserves. This is a guy, of course, 4 trips to the NBA Finals with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, won 2 championships, and since then he's gotten back to the NBA Finals twice. Of course, no championship without LeBron, but nonetheless, he has kept the Heat as one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. But again, like I said, This is going to be a very tough team come May and June in the postseason, and they're going to be a tough out for somebody. One thing you can never do is count out these Miami Heat. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.